We can start. We are also live.
Madam, kindly unmute. Sita madam.
కిషోర్ భాయ్ అందరికీ నమస్కారం.
Madam, shall we start, madam? Ma'am, we are unable to hear you, ma'am.
I have muted myself, ma'am. We can start.
Yeah.
We start with an invocation.
Yeah, madam, we'll start with invocation.
Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
Namaste, madam. I welcome Anantalakshmi, madam, today's resource person. And I welcome all the teacher educators from different college of education. And I welcome all the students fraternity also. Today, our resource person is Ma Anantalakshmi, madam. And today's lecture is on 64 art forms and occupational skills and indigenous pedagogical practices and practical experiences. These are the two topics which madam is going to deal today, and I'll hand it over to madam. Madam, to you, madam. Thank you.
Namaste, everyone. Very happy to be back as part of these sessions. In today's session, I'll be mainly focusing on some of the self-reliant skills pedagogy and what we do at Anadi Gurukulams, and hope to be facilitating an interactive session so that all of us can benefit from these sessions. Just give me a minute, I'll share my screen. Just a minute. We are on day 6 of the sessions. Today, we'll focus on indigenous pedagogy first and some examples from Dharma Gurukulam. I'll talk a little bit about the kalas as well, how we sort of integrate it in the Gurukulam. So before we go into the the specific aspects of the Gurukulam, I thought I will spend again some time on the indigenous pedagogy and also the sources of knowledge, especially starting with the sources of knowledge. So understanding the source of knowledge becomes a very crucial aspect, which is called pramana. Okay? In the Yoga Sutra, we have a sutra that talks about pratyakshanumana pramanani. Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Agama as the sources of knowledge as far as the yogic system is concerned. Okay? So whenever it comes to Gurukula education, the source of knowledge is very, very you can say multifarious. And somebody recently, a scholar also pointed out how Aidiga is also a source of knowledge. So one, of course, is learning from the textual sources or learning from, a structured way of learning. The other is from Aidigam, or whatever we follow as a cultural practice or as a traditional practice, that is also a valid source of knowledge. Right? So that becomes a very crucial aspect in, especially in the rural areas, in tribal areas, amongst the people who live in the forest, right? So when we talk about the sources of knowledge, today I will be focusing on 4 sources of knowledge: Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, and Agama. Okay. So Pratyaksha is direct cognition. So how do we learn from direct cognition? So can you give me some examples in the current educational context of Pratyaksha?
It talks about perception, ma'am. Like
direct perception, learning through direct perception.
perceptions. So like we have in Jainism also, Anekantavada, they speak about that. So we can find that perception plays a major role in understanding anything. For example, like we buy something on Amazon, before we perceive from somebody else, and then we go for buying anything, any product. So something like that. The perception, you perceive something from the first hand or second hand.
Okay. Any other example?
All the sensual experiences, madam. By eye, I'm perceiving you. By ear, I'm hearing something. By nose, directly, I smell something. So, whatever sensual experiences, that can be said as perception.
Very good, sir. Whatever directly comes from the senses is Pratyaksha. Any other? Can you give some examples in a classroom context or in a school, say, for example? How can Pratyaksha learning happen? Anyone?
Ma'am, it's learning by doing.
Learning by doing.
Doing.
Okay. Wonderful.
We should explain the all types of the angle to show the classroom, like
Okay.
vertex and
Okay.
line segment, different types of angles and everything. We should like example of the classroom, and we will explain all type of the angles.
Very good. Very good. Very true.
Ma'am, it's application knowledge, ma'am.
Just give me a minute. I'll just.
It's a humble request to participants, unmute your video and interact. That will be a very good thing because the recording is going. You will be appear in the record. So please unmute your video and interact. That will be nice thing. Please interact.
See, we have been together for the past 6 days. So I'm sure all of you are more than familiar with me now. So please feel free to share your thoughts on the various concepts, right? So Pratyaksha learning, how does it happen in the classroom? Somebody was sharing, sorry, I had to pause in between. Please go ahead and share.
Yes.
Ma'am,
If you
it's
take
application knowledge,
Japmala,
ma'am. Practical or application knowledge.
Practical knowledge, very good. Example, sir, can you give me specifically how practical knowledge?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, when these values and ethics were taught to the children, if they implicate that in their life, that would be better.
Okay.
you can take Japmala. Hello.
Japamala. No, Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha.
Pratyaksha. We can
Formulation of,
Namaste, madam.
yes,
Lalita.
yes, Lalita.
Pratyaksha is something, the sensory experiences.
Yes,
Whichever
exactly.
by pancha, whatever we use sensory organs and get the knowledge through is the Pratyaksha.
Very
Pramana. I think that's my understanding. Thank you.
So,
Hello.
if you take, for example, curriculum of
Hello.
Multisensorial learning.
Yes, ma'am.
Multisensorial learning. Yes.
Yes. If we take, say, for example, the curriculum of the primary school, okay, or say the curriculum of a secondary or middle school or secondary school, how much of it is Pratyaksha? Can you just reflect and share your insights into it?
Hello.
Most of it is Pratyaksha, madam, because we encourage the children to touch, feel, see, and then, hear. And then we encourage them to use their senses. We encourage them to explore the environment and then try to gather the inferences, right? So, yeah, that is basically the Pratyaksha.
Very good. And what about, at the, say, middle school and when they go to secondary school and high school and all that?
That is based on what they've learned in the primary school. So they slowly have the hands-on experience. So they'll go to a little higher level, and then a little abstraction would enter the curriculum, wherein we don't literally have to encourage them to touch, feel, see everything. But then some things we can take it for granted that they have had this experience in their primary education. So from there we can take on karke.
Okay. Wonderful.
About this concept, the Dale's cone of experience is there, ma'am. Dale's cone of learning.
Yes.
In that also, it has shown that how many senses, the more the senses you're using, the better the learning takes place.
What school of learning, ma'am?
That is Dale cone of learning. Dales. There was a scientist called Dales. He have given a model of
Okay,
learning
yes.
model. Yeah, Dale cone of model.
Yes, yes, yes.
So learning experiences based upon how many senses you're using, the better the retention of information takes place.
Correct.
Exactly. Multi-sensory approach. If you take Japmala, 108 beads. So with that, you can teach addition, subtraction, multiplication, counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, we can count. We can add 2 plus 3. 2 beads plus 3 beads, we can count as 5. Subtraction, from 5, you can remove 3. How many will remain? And multiplication, 2 groups, 3 groups, 2 times 3 is 6. Like that, that is multisensory approach we can teach in primary school. That
Yes, sir. Very true. So this multisensory approach is what is Pratyaksha. And we do agree that at a very early stage, at least nowadays, education has transformed in such a way that a good amount of these senses are used. But still, there is a lot of scope for improvement. For example, when we say Pratyaksha, when you talk about a hibiscus flower in the class, when the child is directly able to see the hibiscus flower as it is red in color, number of petals it has, what is the shape of the petal and all that, then it is basically Pratyaksha Jnana. But what happens is that as we move higher to the higher classes, one of you shared that there is a level of abstraction, assuming that there is some pratyaksha jnana that is built during the primary stages. But what happens is that as we move up the classes or the grades, a lot of theoretical frameworks are introduced such that even the pratyaksha jnana that has to happen at that particular age does not happen. So the child is basically bombarded with lot of concepts from, say, physics, chemistry, biology, and all that. Many of which one is not able to directly observe. Right. For one example, as I told you, protein, vitamins, fats, and carbohydrates we study at length. But then how does it impact the body? We are not able to observe it immediately because, say, we eat protein. So the protein is not going to turn into strength tomorrow itself. It takes a period of time, which is fine, which is also a valid knowledge. But then we also need some frameworks which help us to observe certain acute or immediate impacts as well, and then make connections to what is the future or overall impact of such things. So that is why Indian knowledge system becomes a very important dimension over here. Simple things like, say, for example, Guruvadi Guna. Ayurveda has a framework called Guruvadi Guna. It means that there are a range of experiences that one can go through, or in order to describe a dravya, you use these range of labels, okay, or the binary labels. When we say binary, it's not a binary word, right? For example, when you say heavy and light, it does not mean that heavy is a particular value and light is a particular value. It's basically a spectrum, right? So it, in comparison to light, is what something is heavy. In comparison to something, something is light. So it's a relative term that we use. So we have the Guruvadi Guna, the 20 qualities which are there, which include Guru, Laghu, heavy and light. Then you have Sthula, Sukshma, which is, which is gross and subtle. Then you have Shita and Ushna, which is hot and cold. So like this, what happens is that even on the body, one is able to observe these things. Like, for example, how does your body feel now? How do you feel now? Whether you feel heavy or you feel light. I'm sure all of you have had your lunch, so you're feeling a bit heavy now. But after a while, once the food digests, you're fresh and you have your chai and all that, you tend to feel light after that. So there is a pratyaksha component attached to this. Like when, say, for example, I'm bombarding you with all IKS terms. Then when I ask you whether you feel Guru or Laghu, you will tell me you feel Guru. Not that you feel like a guru, but you feel very heavy at the end of it because unable to process all the jargons that I'm talking about, right? So this framework itself is very, very pratyaksha oriented, and at all stages of our education, we need this pratyaksha component, right? And it is built into the Gurukula process. Anumana, inference, right? So how do you draw inferences from things? Like, for example, you see a symptom and you draw an inference, right? And upamana is comparison. Again, Guruvadi Guna. But with respect to something, something is hot. With respect to something else, something is cold. So there is a spectrum of experiences. Through analogy and comparison, one can learn. So this upamana is a very important aspect of the learning process. Why? I'll tell you. Many parents talk about gadget addiction. So what can be done for gadget addiction? Can you just share your thoughts about gadget addiction and what do you see as some solutions for that? With respect to children especially. You can unmute yourself.
Parents have to spend more time with the children, ma'am.
Okay, parents have to spend time with children.
Yes, yeah. And
basically what I believe is, good morning, ma'am, and good morning, everyone. Basically, what I believe is spending physical time is more necessary. And not only that, usually in the previous days, we used to have joint families wherein more physical attention can be paid by hello? Yeah, wherein more physical attention can be paid on the children by elders. Now, being nuclear families, 99 out of 100 are nuclear families for various reasons. So, so it's not possible for everyone to pay attention on children because they are busy with earnings and many other things. So, students, not only students, even elders are getting addicted to that. And especially coming to students, they are not matured enough to understand the situations and getting easily addicted to the things what they are seeing, especially these electronic gadgets, which is easily available to the children now. So not only just physically spending, the quality of time what they spend, parents or grandparents or teachers, if they spend quality time, like teaching them what is good and bad, of course even that is now becoming challenge to every parent. It is not easy as told, because children are now becoming like they are hearing and just leaving. It's not that easy, although it is a challenging task. We have to put our full on effort, like how we bath, how we brush. Motivation to children is that necessary every day, every time.
Good afternoon.
Spending like time, like saying stories, moral stories, and also we have to explain them what happens if they are addicted to this. If possible, give the examples by stating
Good
the example.
afternoon, ma'am. I want to ask whether the schools can provide the library to the students, then 90% of the students won't depend on internet or chat GPT, because books are the sources for them to find out the resources and bring the project works and all. So these gadgets came in 2020 due to Corona, but now it has become an addiction to the students. So students should be provided with the complete resource for their projects, everything by library. So I request every school should have this libraries for the students. Then they won't be addicted much to the electronic gadgets. Thank you.
Okay,
Good afternoon, ma'am. I am Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
I wish to share one statement. So through the gadgets, whatever the students or the children are getting instantaneous pleasure, so that is to be substituted with something else, that probably be a good story, maybe play or productive time with parent. Here we need to substitute it with something more interested, something more curious, something more pleasure. So proper and adequate substitute is important to eliminate this problem, is what I feel. Thank you.
Very, very true, sir.
Madam, I also add, madam, that is very important. We need to redirect our students' interest and passion towards other important aspects, such as mainly art. If you motivate the children to develop a hobby of art, like painting or music specifically, instruments, if they enjoy a lot, automatically they will, what I say is nothing but a concept of sublimation. So we can redirect their interest towards a positive aspect, madam.
So what we have done is actually in our family, every weekend, I mean, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we have a rule called no gadget time, wherein everyone sit together, read books, play the traditional games like Ashtachamma or, Pamalpatnam or any other thing for that matter. And then we sing songs, we play Antakshari, but then it is all our time, basically our time without any gadget. neither I would take a phone nor anyone else in the family use a phone. So we have those ground rules like no phone over lunch, no phone over dinner, and then no phone as an intruder in our me time. So if you have, everyone has those rules in the family that, this is our time together and we don't want an intruder between us, then the gadget will automatically disappear.
Yeah, ma'am, I want to add a point. So here we are seeing that digital gadgets as an enemy, which I would totally disagree. We should know how to set the limits, ma'am. As someone rightly said, we should have that time, the family time. We have to spend that with that particular moment with our family, because nothing else is important than the family. So we have to teach the children about the values, and also we have to make sure that we adults as the grown-ups have to follow the same. And other than that, we should engage them more with the activities, ma'am. For example, instead of playing the Ludo game over phone, we can just play the same on the board, so that they can easily understand like what is the fun and enjoyment that they'll get with their own family or friends. So this is how we can engage the children, ma'am, so that they don't go with a complete digital, accustomed, I would say.
And
One thing I want to
also,
ask, one more thing I want to add.
every generation has this challenge. Like when we were growing, my mother had a challenge of stopping us from watching TV. And when my mother was growing up, my grandmother had an issue of stopping her from reading too many books. So each generation has a challenge of its own. And the challenge of us is, this particular gadget. But then every generation had their own strategies to prevent their children from, becoming addict of that particular whatever is going on during that particular time. So if we design our own strategies and छोटे छोटे नुस्खे जो बोलते हैं ना, so if we do those things, I think it wouldn't become that big issue.
Okay. So my point is, madam, we need to motivate the children to wake up early and see the sunrise and sunset. We must motivate to associate with nature, see the plants, gardening, give the water to the plants, and see the sun, go to the river. Such passionate things may redirect the children towards favorable things, madam. Thank you.
Very wonderful points that all of you had brought out. Nothing for me to share here, because each one of us evolves our own, strategies towards tackling this. We do understand that there is a larger issue here, though I myself am a technologist, have created a lot of, for example, my last 4 years as an academician, I was part of a research lab to create educational content which is suitable to learn on tablets, which is engaging for the child to learn on a tablet, but especially in rural areas, scientific concepts. So I myself have been working a lot on these technologies. But then we do see that it plays a role in terms of taking away the family time, getting the child addicted. And more I see that very, very young children, earlier it used to be in terms of us watching some cartoons on TV. At least there is, say, for example, at least a 4 to 5 feet gap between the screen and us. We used to watch cartoons and some things like that. But then now I see that this particular generation of children in the age group of, say, 3 to 4 years are hooked on to shorts, YouTube shorts. If you observe, they are not watching Dora Bujji, they are not watching a cartoon, they are not watching Tom and Jerry, or I don't know what is currently there, but they are actually hooked on to YouTube shorts, which are created by cinema comedians, or some movie comedy scenes are over there, or something is being done there, such that the language of the child, the behavior of the child, the attitude of the child towards something is being modeled based on those YouTube shorts and whatever reels or whatever it is, right? So this definitely creates, a very, very different kind of a structural and functional changes in the chitta, in the brain of the child. So definitely the weaning away is a need of the hour. So the pedagogical strategies, when we talk about it, when we talk about current times, we need to evolve, when we say Yuganukula, we need to evolve strategies which are very, very relevant, considering the technological impact as well. And, as many of you were sharing, exposure to art, exposure to Krishi, exposure to other activities can definitely help them to wean away. And one thing that we have seen in our Gurukula is that, of course, we don't have gadgets here. So we say it's a residential Gurukulam here in Payani. So we say it's about 300 days of no gadgets. Okay. So you would see that within a few months, the eyes start to sparkle in the child. Because the child, no matter how restrictive the family is, at least has access to the screen for about 2 to 3 hours a day. Some children about 6 to 7 hours a day. On a weekend or during the pandemic, I heard that even 10 hours a day of gadget exposure has gone, because the mother would be in a room doing work from home, the father is in another room working from home. The child has only 1 or 2 hours of online classes. The rest of the time, this child has just spent with the gadgets, unable to go outside. And then the addiction that started there is still continuing, somehow very difficult. It's a challenging thing, I agree. But as some of you have shared in your own family, how you have been able to apply. Why I brought this in the context of Upamana or analogy is that even for our own growth and our own lives, when we talk about, say, I am addicted to mobile phone, so what do I do? I am addicted to masala food, what do I do? I am addicted to something, tea, coffee, what do I do? So when we have this particular kind of a thought process or a habit or a behavior, this analogy or upamana or comparison becomes important, where you have a particular period of time when you don't engage in that particular activity. For example, say take a week and say this whole week I will not have tea and coffee, okay? Or this whole week I will not have masala food, or this whole week I will not use my phone, or I will not use say Instagram and Facebook and Twitter for this whole week. Or next 3 days, I will not give gadgets to my child. Then after this period of 3 days or 7 days or whatever it is, when you come back to, engaging with the activity, you would have a frame of reference to compare these two aspects, right? So it is very difficult to just be in the mode and try to plug the whole thing. So you will have to have a small period when you are not engaged in that, and that forms a basis for comparison, saying how my life was much better when I probably didn't keep on checking my Instagram feed, or say, for example, having so much spicy food, or addicted to tea, coffee, or whatever it is, whatever you consider it as your own addiction, right? Then having that period of withdrawal will actually give you a basis for comparison. So same as with children, whatever days you set as no gadget dates or whatever, when you ask the children, see, how was your other day compared to this day, you would actually find that children have very positive things to say. You might be sort of skeptical, thinking the child might say I was bored without the gadget or whatever. Over a period, you will see that the child actually starts to like a life which is not, which is free of gadgets. And one thing that we found at our Gurukulam is that, of course, we don't have gadgets, so doesn't mean that we engage the children all the time from morning to evening. It's always teachers have to keep on teaching something. No, it's a residential Gurukulam, right? And we don't have a concept where you have a hostel, you have a warden who will take care of the child after 6 o'clock. Nothing of that sort. It's the same acharyas. Yesterday you had the session by the Pradhana Acharya. So it's the same kind of acharyas who teach in the class, who also live with the children, who interact with the children in the evening, in the night, in the early morning and all that. So it doesn't mean that the acharya is actually engaging the child throughout. Over a period of time, what happens, since we have this space around us, within the ashram, the child learns to engage themselves. So you would find children, sitting underneath a tree, and then probably, just, observing the worms over there. Now the children know where all in the ashram, birds lay their eggs, and at what times the peacocks come during the day and in the evening or whatever. What are the various animals that visit the ashram? Could be a wild boar, or could be, could be a parrot, right? Or could be a sparrow. So many wonderful, bird species actually visit the ashram. And then these children take the time to actually look at these various bird species, right? And so what happens is that what a mainstream child is not observing, as Kishorji was beautifully sharing, even watching the sun rise and sunset, that is happening here at the Gurukulam because of, not because we keep engaging them or we give them a gadget or whatever it is, or take away the gadget, nothing of that sort. Just gadgets are not available around here. So they find their own ways of engaging themselves. Or they could just take a stick and go on digging the soil and making a big pit, which all children love to do, just playing with the sand, right? So then what happens when we ask them, like, how this is impacting you, then they have very nice things to say about not even missing the gadgets, not even crossing their mind that, oh, I'm missing my gadget. It's only for adults. Like, if you take away the gadget from me, I'll be wondering, like, did I get a mail? Did I get a WhatsApp message and all that? But children don't get mails, or children don't get WhatsApp messages. It's basically the feeds. So they don't actually miss out on any functional thing if they are withdrawn from gadgets, right? So this upamana, this comparison is very important when something is there and when something is not there, right? And Agama is the words of experts. So we have textbooks, we have expert lectures. Whoever has had the experience, they coming and then sharing their thoughts. That is with respect to Agama, or testimony of experts.
Ma'am, there are 6, no, out of 4 theory sources of knowledge.
There are
Anupanati,
there are two more
Arthapati.
which I didn't, which I had put in the last session, but I thought
Okay.
best I will talk only about these two.
Okay.
So when we talk about perception, right, direct, I'll talk about here on this pratyaksha and anuman, a little more about it. So perception, when we say it is through the senses, right, and through the eyes, through the ears and all that. But perception could also be affected by a few things. One is, of course, the faulty instrument. My eyesight is not proper, then I can't see something. My perception or direct cognition is affected. And could be placement of the object. Suppose it's very far or very near, then also I cannot cognize it. Or then emotions could be clouding my perception. Like, I'm so affected by my thoughts. My friend walked near me, I didn't even notice. Could happen, right? Because my emotions are clouding me, I don't observe the things around me. Or it could be lack of knowledge also. I don't know what it is. So I even if I look at a mango, suppose I've not been taught what is a mango, if I've never seen a mango, then there's no way I will be able to identify it as a mango. I might think, okay, it is not an apple, it's not an orange, it's not a banana, it is some kind of a new fruit, is what I would think about, right? So here in Sankhya Karika, it talks about what could affect our direct perception. Atidurat samipyad indriya ghatan manonasha. Okay, and it is sukshma, and it is of the nature of being placed with other objects, right? So on account of excessive distance or excessive proximity, or some indriya affect to the senses, or inattention. Okay. Manonavasthanat means the manas is not in that place. Okay, we are not paying attention to it, or it is minute, so subtle, so small that I am not able to see, or there is something that is affecting my perception, something that is obstructing my perception, or it is getting suppressed, or it is mixed along with similar things, right? So, for example, you have some grains, and 1 or 2 grains of similar looking, but another grain is there. You won't be able to notice it. There are many trees. If one tree is different, or a few trees are different, but if they're very similar to the other trees, you won't be able to point it out specifically, right? Because it's this thing. So even though the object is existent, you won't be able to perceive that. So this is with respect to pratyaksha. With respect to anumana, what you call it, this is a very classical example from the works like Tarka Sangraha or in Nyaya Shastra spoken of. Right? So here anumana is you make an inference that you see smoke on the hill and you infer that there is fire. Okay? Why? Because you know that where there is smoke, there is fire. Okay? You understand, right? So you see fire on the smoke, smoke on the mountain, but you are not seeing the fire directly. You're only seeing the smoke. And where is it happening? It is happening on the hill, which is the paksha. Which location it is happening? It is happening on the hill, right? And you are saying there is smoke, you are noticing smoke on the mountain, but you know that wherever there is smoke, there is fire. You know the relationship between smoke and fire. So you're saying whenever you're able to direct. So in many of our experimental studies, this is what we do. We can't perceive directly, but we perceive it with the help of the whatever objects that we are able to see. So this is with respect to pratyaksha and anumana. So before we go into this pedagogy, I thought I'll bring out one. This is okay because of the speed of the internet. This got skipped here. So you have the sense organ, you have the eye, the receptor cells, the rods and cones. You have the nerve conduit to the brain. Then you have the optic nerve. Then you have the brain region where the information is being processed, which is the primary visual cortex, which is in the occipital lobe of the brain, right? So in the process of perception, for example, here if you see there is a dog, the eyes are seeing the dog, and then the receptor cells, rods and cones are in the retina, where these receptors react to this light which is falling on it. And then the signals through the optic nerve, it is taken to the brain region, the occipital lobe. It is where that we actually are able to perceive that particular object. But then the perception can be obstructed because of the reasons that I already. Okay. So before we go into the indigenous pedagogy, we'll see because of there is one more. Just give me a minute. Because I'm experiencing some speed issues. Whatever I type is not getting edited properly. So in the Indian context, there is something called the Vidyarthi Panchalakshanam. It speaks, it is about Kakacheshta, Bako Dhyanam, Shwana Nidra, Alpahari, and Grihatyagi. Okay. So it talks about Kakacheshta, Bako Dhyanam, Shwana Nidra, Alpahari, and Grihatyagi. So what are the 5 qualities of a student? The way a crow is active, it keeps moving around, it keeps doing small things in a very active manner. So doing a lot of activities, being very active is a quality of a student. the second quality of dhyana, the way a crane is meditating, right? So you would see a crane, it would just be looking at the waters, it will be very still. But when it sees a fish, it immediately pierces and then it catches the fish, right? So there, the student has a quiet and still mind, but can grasp things when it is paying very, very high level of attention that the child pays to whatever is being taught. Shwana Nidra is in terms of like a dog, sleeping like a dog. Nowadays, I'm seeing the dogs, they are just sleeping the whole day. Not like that. The dog has a very light sleep, right? So the moment it hears a noise, immediately it wakes up, right? So even though the student goes to sleep, the student is always aware of one's surroundings. So it is not like sleeping like a dead log, but sleeping like a dog. Alpahari, it is in terms of having very moderate food that is required to assist the learning process, not food that puts them to sleep. Grihatyagi means ready to leave the home. It also means that ready to leave the comforts of the home. Not every place of learning, you'd be very surprised that some of the best places of learning in the country, right, by a lot of traditional scholars are there. It could be in Kashi, could be in Uttar Kashi, could be in Kanchipuram, could be in so many important sthalas. And you will be surprised that they are in the simplest of the places, right? So they are not found in big infrastructural buildings. They are not found in multi-story buildings or AC classrooms, but they are found in the simplest of the places, right? So that is a very important aspect of this whole thing. And Grihatyagi means ready to leave the home or comforts of the. So when we talk about indigenous pedagogy, there are some important aspects, right? The Guru-Shishya relationship, it's the entire knowledge system rests on the Guru-Shishya relationship. And when we say Gurukulam or whatever, in the earlier times, not everything was a residential school. We had residential Gurukulas. There were also Patashalas, Vidyayas, and many Pallikudams and many such things. Even in those things, the Guru-Shishya relationship was a very crucial aspect of the learning process. So here in the modern context, we talk about so many terminologies, right? We talk about constructivism, we talk about this and that, and so many jargons we use. But then what has happened is that the West has always paid attention to the process and not so much on the qualities or inherent qualities of the people involved in the process. So whenever we look at the industry, right, like a factory model, what is a factory basically? So what is the difference between a factory and what homemade? You just share your thoughts. Not a big question, just for us to have a conversation. What is the difference between a factory and a homemade or a handmade or whatever?
First thing is hygiene, ma'am. Hygiene. And when you prepare something at home, you consider a family member's interest. So what is liked by majority of all the family members, accordingly we will make things at home. So which is a psychological component. So we look into the quality of the food. Yes, and when we prepare, when we are eating food, psychologically we don't have any inhibitions like is the food safe, what we are eating. So wholeheartedly, we will take things what is prepared at home.
Wonderful, ma'am. So what is the difference, say, for example, a sari that is made in a handmade place and a factory place?
Ma'am, in the factory, it is made by the missions, ma'am. And man-made, that is manual, ma'am. That is to say,
So that is the technically, it's the definition. But
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
fundamentally, what are some of the qualities or how does it differ? That
Yeah, in the home, that is heart will be function, madam. In the outside of that is hands will function. In the houses and homes, that your heart will function.
Very
in the outside of the houses and families, the hands will function.
Yeah.
That is the
Very
difference.
clear, madam.
So it talks
That
about
is-
the quantity also. When you're talking about a factory, you manufacture. That's it. You would be focused only on the end product. But then when you're doing it in your home, you would be one after one after one. So you would be methodically, organizedly putting your heart and soul into it. You intricate basically, right? So that is the basic difference according to me.
There was one person, we had a discussion. She said that when you cook, it seems the emotions of the cook is also being transformed into the food. So when we are doing this outside food, that is why our nature has changed. If we see our generation from the past, है ना? So we can say that there is a transformation of emotion while the person is cooking. So we can see in our home also that if our mood is not that good, we don't cook that good. है ना? So this is also impacting human life a lot.
The most important thing I see that
we don't have mood to cook, we can just order on Swiggy maybe.
Yeah.
That is our aggression, all those emotion imbalances.
Saris,
because
what
of
you were
that.
talking about, like machine made and handmade saris. I think in man-made saris, because it is indigenous and it is traditional, I think, when we see those kind of the handloom woven clothes or saris, we will have some different type of feeling. Like, it's our mana, that kind of feeling. And, when you wear that sari also, the color, whatever it is, attraction you get is entirely different from what we get from the machine made. And I think the kind of, right from color, dyeing the yarn to weaving the sari or any cloth, there are the traditional strategies are followed. Like, they think about, like, and when we think about cotton woven or silk woven, we are confident that we will not get any, like, from health point of view, see, like, no allergy will happen. Like, sometimes if you wear this synthetic material, so sometimes you have allergic sort of a things. So it's all, I think, more psychology is involved and acceptance is involved when you talk about homemade and the factory made or company made things. I think this is one of the most important thing that we feel as a common man when we think about a factory made or a homemade or indigenously made clothes or whatever it is.
Skill of the person is shown there.
Yeah.
Hard work of the person, skill of the person, culture. Because suppose if we take the example of Paithani sari, I when personally have gone to Shirdi, I think it's hardly 20 kilometers away from the Shirdi temple, I believe, in Maharashtra. I have seen people weaving that by hand. Similar saris we can find everywhere in the Hyderabad or everywhere in the country. But the specificity, the culture where that kind of pattern is born is exhibited skillfully by that particular person in that area. That skill is shown there. Whereas coming to machines, it is just a software is given there, and now we can get the same kind of output. But when I visited Paithani village in Shirdi, I have seen people involved in making that. They're showing their culture. Everything is seen there, and it also gives the some remuneration to the people there.
Very true. Wonderful, wonderful. Now just
It's not only, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. If it's not only with regard to Paithani, everywhere, if we see the Gadwal saris, and every area we have Venkatagiri is there, Mangalagiri saris are there. We can get any kind of pattern everywhere, but when you go to that particular area where these are woven, and we can see the culture there, people involved there, we can also know the history beyond that, how it is born. People skillfully show that, and if we wear it, we can feel the difference between a homemade homemade and also machine one.
Correct, correct.
The backside physically, most people may not know it. Ladies will be knowing this. When you turn it behind, we can see the thread. And the machine woven saris will not have that fine thread. It is not that easy.
Correct. So now
Mastering over that particular skill is too tough and time taking also. Thank you.
now
Hello, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, the basic difference is, ma'am, like through handloom, it represents culture and tradition. And in that process, it will be made through love and affection. The same thing doesn't happen in the factories. It can give, it doesn't give the employment to the people. And through handloom, the future generation also going to learn through it. And it also,
Immediate decisions we can take.
yes, immediate decisions also we can take, and we can store our culture and traditions also, ma'am. Yeah, that is the main difference.
Very true, very true.
And can be
Madam,
passed
so
to the
nice.
further generations. Like a few families are totally dedicated for that. It's not that they come out and work for the industries outside. It's not that they cannot come out, but they are dedicated. They have dedicated their skill to that.
Yes.
And we are able to still follow that. We are able to know about that. It is just because the families are dedicated that art and culture to that particular fashion.
Understood, ma'am. Understood.
They understand the value, hard
Correct.
work, time given. This is all by the students if it is in the handloom.
Correct.
The industriousness, what people are putting, and they develop some emotional relationship with the cloth even.
Correct, correct. Very true. So I'm just going to preemptively apologize now for what I'm going to say. Right? This is also live and this is going to be recorded, but still I'm going to say this. So why does, when it comes to the educational context, why is there so much skepticism when it comes to Indian knowledge systems or a Gurukula education or a personalized educational ecosystem as compared to a machine-made cloth, which is like a factory model of education, which is a mass all of you have told so many wonderful things about a handloom cloth, which is personally made, which there is so much love, there is so much care, there is a very imprinted design, region-specific design, right? But the same when we translate it to education, the same kind of education can be offered, right? A regional education, personalized education, education with a lot of love and care in a setting of a Gurukula, not residential, non-residential, that can be left to the person. Then it can be, and the weaver does not have a 9 to 5 job. Today he feels like weaving from 6 to 7, he will weave. Tomorrow he feels like weaving from this thing, yet the creativity of the weaver comes out, right? So even in the educational context, the teacher can exercise creativity when it's a smaller setting, right? But then over a period of time, so much skepticism has crept in that people value only a mass, as I said, apology for saying this, a factory model of education. That is what has happened, unfortunately. But why I brought this particular thing over here is that when we take a machine-made cloth versus a handmade cloth, the thought process, the idea was that the flaws that a human brings will be eliminated and we will generate clothes that are identical at a mass scale with a certain precision, with no difference from one another. That is the idea behind using a machine to make a cloth versus a handloom cloth. So in ancient times, do you think handlooms did not cater to the requirements of the people? We had a good population, right? It is not like overnight we exploded. We have been expanding consistently, and accordingly we have adopted methods. So don't you think in ancient times as well we were able to take care of the demand at that point in time, right? So we imagine that we won't be able to take care of the demand, and then we brought everything to machines, saying that if humans make, there will be a lot of laws, there will be a lot of difficult things. We need a mass scale. That's why let's put it in machines and manufacture thousands of clothes, lakhs of clothes which look identical, which can serve the entire population. So two things have happened in this process. One, the human has been removed, the process has been given more importance, right? For whatever reason. That's why I'm saying, I apologized before itself. The second thing that has happened is that the cognitive benefit that the weaver gets by weaving the cloth has gone, and now only the machine is doing that. So the human population, the cognitive, the artistic, the aesthetic benefit that the human population used to get because of all the hastakala has been removed, and now it has been translated into machines. So similarly, what happens with setting up a factory or a mass kind of an education system with a full set of pedagogical processes, training and all that is that individual person is removed from this, right? So when I asked you about factory cloth versus human woven cloth, none of you told me that human cloth has a lot of flaws. There could be mistakes. Humans commit mistakes. What if they don't weave it on time? Actually, none of you told that. All of you said these are wonderful. This is love. This is care. The weaver will use their own, whatever this, right? But then when it came to factory, you pointed out something. Nobody told it's very efficient. The best cloth is produced. It caters to the mass requirements. You didn't think it's there. You already know the answer. But when it comes to a handloom, you brought in a lot of personal values over there. So we must understand that the teacher, the qualities of the teacher are very much core to this entire pedagogical process. And removing the person and setting only the process will not help in the long run. Whatever we are suffering is because of that, because the teacher feels that they are actually addressing a machine, not the students, but they are part of the machine, right? They're part of the factory. They feel also like a machine, right? That's why this whole thing is lost. There is a fixed timetable. There are, systems. There are publisher-run institutions that fix today, this is what you need to teach. Tomorrow, this is what you need to teach. There are publishers who also give, standardized question papers across the schools that they serve. So they are evaluated based on. So in that particular publisher's ranking, some small towns, some child will come in the 5,600th rank. And look at what it does to the psyche of the child, right? So I want your thoughts on this particular thing. We'll just spend 2 to 3 minutes, not elaborate answers. Give me short viewpoints on this particular, what I have just mentioned. I know it sounds a bit controversial, but as I always told, I embrace all the pedagogical approach. I embrace technology and all that. So no offense there, but this is a very important point to think, because we are also moving into the AI world. What it does to the chitta of a person has to be looked at. And why remove the person and only set the process that becomes problematic, right? So just 2-3 sentences, please share on this thought process. Anyone?
Now, what is the specific question actually? So that's what we're waiting for.
There is no specific question here. We just discussed a point. When we look at a factory model or a mass kind of a model of education in any country, any situation, versus a personalized learning, we don't apply the same framework that we used for handloom versus machine, right? We say that, the society views only this as to be the right process, right? So what does that do to the child, to the teacher, or is it helping, or whatever I share not be the right viewpoint, whatever it is, whatever you feel about what we discussed.
Madam, when you come to the first aspect of Guru-Shishya relationship centric, I think the distance is being increased between the Guru and Shishya in the present generation, madam. Because here specifically why till intermediate or so, I think that relationship is quite good compared to when it comes to the higher education. Probably this because of the sources. Because at button on, they're getting total information. And because they're getting information, the context and nature connected, that emotional relationship between the Guru and Shishya is getting minimized. And then because of all the above 5 reasons, the discipline-oriented education is not being given. Like, when I was a child, the elders used to tell, it's not enough that you get educated. They used to tell there are 2 kinds of people. Like, one is educated literate, who has samskara is called educated literate. And educated illiterate is one highly qualified but no samskara. They don't have minimum this thing like how to behave with the opposite person. And you have uneducated literate, even though they are not educated with degrees and all, but because of the family orientation and the traditions and customs and discipline, mannerism, which has been transmitted in the family from one generation to another generation, even though they are in the family occupation, whether it is agriculture or any other family occupation, hereditary occupation, they still have that samskara. So, like, these kind of educated or uneducated literates, it's highly difficult to find in the present generation. They're not bothered about their own family members in the family. So this is what I think is missing, that emotional attachment between the family members, that tradition, that spiritual values, spirituality, and the minimum discipline and traditions, customs, folklores, whatever we had, mores, whatever we had, we got from our parents or grandparents to us, that is missing from the generation. That's what we see many of the spots of spiritual messages, like 80 to mid of end of late early 90 born. They had little bit of customs and traditions, sanskara, which is being transferred from parents to the children, next generation. But because of this technology development, advanced technology, it could be the positive change. But when it comes to the development, holistic development of an individual, it's really hindering the development of individual towards humanistic direction. That human value is missing. That this is what is missing in this present thing. And when you talk about, even when we go to these gurukulas and people whom we see there, whether it is Madarasa or whether it is any other spiritual religious institution, children who are getting educated there compared to the modern education. I'm not telling that present total modern education children are like that, but majority of them that we are missing. This is, I don't blame the children of the present generation. It is because of the functioning of the family and institutions, the family, religious institutions, and the parents. Because of them, I think we are not able to transmit all the things what we are supposed to our next generation. Like, they don't want to eat what is cooked at home. But parents are not trying to explain them why you should eat that food. What are the benefits of home cooked food? So because of mother and father are busy, okay, no, tino gada, it's okay. You order something, I'm going. So that kind of culture is being developing in the families. So that even in this process, what is happening, this is respect to the food. But when it comes to the education also, that time our parents used to make us sit and used to have some study hours after we come back from home. They used to allow us to play for some time, 1-2 hours, and then study hours. So we got used to that, has become a discipline in us. Like from 5 to 7 or 5 to 8, we have to sit and study. And 8 o'clock, they used to give us dinner, go off to sleep and get up early in the morning at 5 o'clock. But that kind of thing is not, culture is not going on in the present day generation. I think probably because of the software technology development, software engineers working in the timings where other countries are working and on. So probably the children are not, parents are not seeing children's face and children are not seeing the parents' face, which is really, it's very heartening to see these kind of scenario. But this is where these all things are happening in present compared to our indigenous Indian pattern. But however, even when you talk about the Gurukula system also, ma'am, that time they used to send the children to Gurukulam where they are away from their parents. But still this was not missing.
Correct.
Between
As
parents.
as you said, when I talk about Gurukula education, it's not just about, it's not a religion-centric thing that I'm talking about. It is about going back to one's own roots and understanding the family practices, the educational practices of that particular tradition, right? That brings in a lot of, respect and reverence towards one's own roots, right?
Probably, I think we have to talk about the Sanskritization of children in the family present, child rearing practices. I think all these count a lot in bringing up the children, because as the childhood is very critical, whatever we are supposed to teach them, it should happen at the young age so that it continue in their throughout their life. I think that is missing in the present generation rearing of children. So I think probably the children will not say no if we teach them all these things.
Very true, very true.
When they're learning how to operate a computer, a tab, or a mobile phone, I think they will learn this also. I think probably it's because of us, and I think we have to be very careful and cautious in rearing the children and bringing them. Thank you, ma'am.
One more thing is humans act according to the psychology. Like if it is a human teacher, they understand, while in that 40, even if it is a short time of 45 minutes period also, teacher moves according to the child's psychology. That is not possible with the technology, right? It delivers the content whatever it wants to deliver, that's all. But we have individual differences. Like every child comes from different kind of background, right? And every time they may not have the same kind of mindset. They come with so many things to the classroom, wherein the motivation is very important. That is possible only by knowing the individual differences, which is possible only by the human teacher.
That is also becoming difficult because of a very standardized curriculum, very standardized timetable, where there's so much pressure to complete the portions and then, quickly go through the material, and then the child, no matter in what mood, they are forced to learn that particular day. So we'll move on to content. So when we talk about Guru Shishya relationship, it's at the heart we can translate it in modern terms in terms of the teacher and student relationship. It's a very important dimension that brings in ethics, connection, and emotions, right? And the guru tailor makes the content, or the teacher tailor makes the content as suitable to the student, right? And nature connected, if you look at gurukulas and patashalas located in a rural area, in a natural setting, in a forest setting, there is a lot of connection between the student, the village, the fields, the forests, the trees, the animals that there, the whatever crawls and flies, and all that, right? So farming, animal care, environmental stewardship were all integral to the teaching learning process. So nature connected learning happens. When we talk about indigenous pedagogy, it is also very context specific. For example, social, cultural, and geographic context. So even though, for example, Ayurveda is a system of medicine that is followed throughout the country, when it comes to the practices, it will be very regional in nature. As a knowledge system, it's a very unified thing. But when it comes to practices, it's a very regional thing. So depending on the herbs that grow there, the weather conditions, the climatic conditions, one has to take different kind of food, different kind of medicine. There are different ways by which one keeps oneself healthy and treats the illnesses, right? So also the for example, when you look at ancient Indian knowledge systems, there would be a fundamental or foundational education that is offered to all. But then after that, vocational training was focused on. So for example, and then there would be a lot of mathematical tables, there will be a lot of series tables that will enable an architect to construct, or a mason to construct, somebody to weave. So they will have standardized table like that. So for example, a student from an agrarian background would be taught farming techniques, natural resource management, while a student from a warrior community probably will be trained in martial arts. So vocational training based on the community was offered. And moreover, contextual extended to moral and spiritual teachings, ethical dilemmas, and life lessons were taught. And one of the gaps that is there in the current education system is that after 18 years of age, we just let them high and dry. But what will happen to their life in the future? How do they maintain their relationships? How, when they get married, how to run a family? All this is not part of the education, which is a great gap, in fact. Source text based, Vedanta, Vedas, Smritis, Puranas, everything in a very rigorous manner. Students were sort of encouraged to memorize and internalize these texts, often through chanting and repetition, which also served as a very huge cognitive exercise. That's what I said. So the cognitive benefit that the child gets out of these pedagogical practices will be removed if it is made into too much of a standardized process, right? So the process of learning from these texts involved not just rote memorization, but also interpretation and discussion with the acharya over there and the guidance of the guru. This ensured that the students understood the practical applications and deeper philosophical meanings of whatever text that they were going through, right? Also cultivating critical thinking alongside the respect for the tradition. And rigorous encoding was there. Indian pedagogy is characterized by rigorous systematic approach to learning, where knowledge is often encoded in the form of sutras, shlokas, and this helped in multiple ways. One is preservation of vast amount of knowledge was easily possible in a very short form, ensuring accuracy when it is transmitted from the acharya to the student, and also facilitate the memorization process. For example, Paninian grammar in Sanskritam is a highly sophisticated linguistic framework condensed into very, very short sutras, demonstrating the intellectual rigor of the Indian pedagogy. The rigorous training process required students to master foundational texts before progressing to advanced concepts, instilling discipline and perseverance. And this ensured a lot of mastery over specific contexts, and also a deeper understanding of the subject matter, rather than just a superficial knowledge. Okay. And discipline oriented. So when we look at the current mainstream education process, of course, a lot of one generation before in schools, we used to have teachers beating the children, scolding the children left and right and all that. Thankfully, most of it, has been removed from the system. But then in the process, what also happened is that we have built a very hypersensitive generation, which is not able to take failure, which is not able to take anything, told, whatever we insist them to do, right? So we often, just a minute. So we often find it very uncomfortable telling the children, please do this, because we are afraid that they will get offended, they'll be sensitive to it and all that. So what happens is that we say that, okay, we just provide a broad framework, let children figure out on their own what you need to do. But when you look at the Gurukula pedagogy, when we look at the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita or the Puranas, nowhere there is any mention of an Acharya beating the child. So the idea that a Gurukula is based on beating is a myth. Okay, that is something that needs to be removed. So when it comes to Indian pedagogy, it is not based on beating, but a lot of love, attention, and care to individual learner needs, and also a positive approach to learning, and also instruction based, right? So when there are specific instruction, you do this, you do this, you don't do this, you don't do this. So it doesn't mean we are restricting the freedom of the child, but we are given, in fact, codified knowledge which will help them to practice it in the future. Okay. Otherwise, students grow up to not knowing what to do in life, which is the right thing to do, what framework to apply to decide which is right, what is right and what is wrong. Okay. So both will be done. One is directly telling what to do and what not to do, but there will also be indirect approaches where larger frameworks like Purushartha are given, so that the student is able to make a decision on their own as to what is right and what is not right. So the Gurukula system instilled a lot of discipline through a structured daily routine, which balanced study, physical activity, self-service, and meditation. The regimen self-control, time management, focus, preparing students to face life challenges with resilience. Discipline extended beyond external routines to include ethical and moral self-regulation guided by dharma. And respect, highest regard for the teacher, peers, and nature, fostering a lot of humility. So Vidya and Vinayam go hand in hand with a sense of responsibility. So this discipline-oriented approach aimed to shape not only skilled individuals, but also virtuous members who actually contributed highly to the society. These are some of the core aspects of indigenous pedagogy. So what we do at the Anadi Gurukulams is, of course, it is based on the Purushartha and the Panchakosha. The content is based on Indian knowledge systems. It is also futuristic, community connected, and Yama-Niyama centered. So we have 3 Gurukulams. Dharma Gurukulam, residential in Palani, 10 to 18 years of age. Swadharma Gurukulam, 6 to 9 years, located in Secunderabad. And Bala Gurukulam, 2.5 to 5 years, located in Jubilee Hills. Okay. And Purushartha, because that forms the foundation. So when it comes to Anadi Gurukulam, the Gurukulam itself, of course, is named Dharma Gurukulam. So all the thoughts and curriculum and everything has Dharma as the foundation. And of course, Moksha as the aspiration. But in between, there is Artha and Kama, right? So when we say futuristic, when we say modern, it also means that there is an inbuilt Artha component. It's not that student is unfit to go out into the world and then earn money or get educated further. There is a very much a systematic process towards that. And Kama, children derive pleasure out of this educational process. They are not isolated. There is a lot of joy in the learning process. And they are also encouraged to enjoy the overall pleasures of life, right? Whatever is age appropriate, that's a crucial aspect. Age appropriate enjoyment of pleasures is also brought in a systematic manner at the Gurukulams that we have. When it comes, Purushartha, Panchakoshiya Vikas, we have already spoken about it. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya Kosha. With respect to the Indian knowledge systems, what do we teach here at the Gurukulam? We teach Ayurveda, the basic frameworks of Panchabhuta, Tridosha, Rasa, Shadrasa, Saptadhatu, Anna, Dinacharya, and Ritucharya. Bharatiya Ganita, a sample of which I think you attended in yesterday's session. Nakshatra Vidya, astronomy, mainly to decode the Panchanga, okay, to understand the movement of the sun, movement of the moon, movement of the grahas, and various other nakshatras. Yoga, in terms of asana, pranayama, pratyahara, and dhyana, and of course the yama niyama. Gau Vijnana, understanding various breeds of cows, the life cycle of a cow, and what to do with the manure, and how to take care of the health of the cows. All this is taught to the children. At a certain later ages, they are exposed to the philosophical systems or Darshana Shastras. And a lot of life skills and kala is also built into this. Why we say it is futuristic? One, of course, how do we connect with the mainstream education? We connect them through the open schooling curriculum. And the students also take internships. The school students take internships. For example, some of our Hyderabad Gurukulam children and our Palani Gurukulam children, they spent about 4 days or 3 days in IIT Hyderabad and also the Birla Science Center in Hyderabad, knowing about various aspects of the scientific process and how Indian knowledge systems is being researched upon and utilized over there. They also spent a few days in IIT Bombay and NIMHANS, which is a neuro institution in Bangalore. Vaidyagrama, which is an Ayurvedic institution. So they got to interact with Ayurveda Vaidyas as to how they diagnose the diseases and then what is a treatment protocol that is followed. And right now, in fact, since the Kumbh Mela is going on, from February towards the last 15 days of the Kumbh Mela, all the Vidyarthis along with their parents, whoever is able to travel, they'll be going and then doing seva there as part of the Kumbh Mela. So that way they get a not just a scientific exposure, but also a very grounded exposure. Computational thinking and problem solving. What we do here as part of this is students who are in the ages of 13, 14 years. We take problems from the Bharatiya text, including astronomy and mathematics. And they learn how to write small algorithms and then eventually Python code for that. So they learn how to convert real world problems into mathematical problems, which can be computed or which can be written as programming problems, right? So then what happens is that how to solve a real world problem, how to make an estimation, all this pratyaksha jnana happens with respect to these things. And a high-end curriculum in terms of yogic neuroscience and cognition is also available. So we have this book, all of you can also purchase. This is called, I don't know whether you're seeing the mirror image or the actual image, but this book is called The Science of Yoga, where we also talk about a lot of yogic neuroscience and yogic psychology concepts, yogic cognition and neuroscience and psychology. The book is available for purchase on our website. So here, children actually understand what is the impact of the yogic practices on their body, mind, the brain, and the various aspects of their lives, and how it impacts the cognitive processes. And the students also undergo training to teach. So there is enough scope for the child to give a lot of presentations. So not every subject is evaluated with a written exam. There could be presentations, there could be oral chanting as part of the evaluation process. And they get exposure to global and local experts. A lot of people from across the countries visit the Gurukulam in order to interact with the children. There are Himalayan sadhus who visit, field experts who visit, international speakers who visit, and also a lot of professors who visit. So that way, the children don't feel isolated. They feel connected to the larger ecosystem. And sustainable living, right? They lead a very simple life over here, and a chemical-free life. They learn to make their own tooth powder. They learn to make their own soaps. They learn to make their own washing liquid. And that way, what happens is that they understand the impact of chemicals on the soil. So, for example, a regular child, what happens, or all of us, like who live in the urban areas, like of course, I live in a rural area. If you're living in an urban area, you brush your teeth and then you just wash your mouth in the wash basin. The pipe, it goes somewhere. You don't even know where this toothpaste is going, right? It goes and mix it some water body or something probably. But here, if you see, we brush our teeth here, we wash it, means with the paste, if we wash it with water, it goes into the soil where we grow our own food. So children directly have a pratyaksha view that whatever chemicals I use on my body is affecting the soil that we grow our food, and hence I need to be mindful. So that is why using natural products is not a fanciful thing here. It's a very simple, natural decision over here, right? It's nothing about, oh, I lead an organic life, I lead a sustainable life, I lead a very expensive life, nothing of that sort. If you live in a rural area, every farmer lives like that. Every person who lives in a simple life lives like that. Like that, the children are also taught to live a life of simplicity. So even in those times, when you look at it, even though Rama, Krishna were born in wealthy families, they underwent a Gurukula education. So they first become firm in the knowledge system, leading a simple life. Then they went back to their own kingdoms and ruled it, the best possible. How they are connected to the community? Children do Annadana. What we do is that whenever we do Annadanam, the acharyas take 2 or 3 children, take turns and take the children and serve food to the needy people. Parents are part of all the initiatives. And the rural school children who are located around the ashram, about 2,000, 3,000 children visit the ashram on every year, right? And then the Gurukula children offer a lot of science models, IKS models, in order to spread awareness about the impact of IKS to every child that lives around the ashram. And it's typically a rural life. When you say a rural life, it means it's a life that is connected to the community. It's not an isolated life. It's connected to the trees, it's connected to the animals, it's connected to other people, right? And what are some of the Indic life skills? I left out Krishi over here, but Krishi is also part. Gopalana, how to take care of cows. Shaucha, how to take care of one's own body and how to take care of one's own clothes, right? Paka Shastra, how to cook food in terms of, just some materials they will know how, if 2-3 people are there, how to quickly make at least rice and sambar and something they know to make some vegetables. Okay. Keeping things in order, maintaining their own things. Initially they'll break, they will lose and all that. But over a period of time, they will learn to keep it in order. Resourcefulness, whatever they have. In urban schools, what happens is that there is a homework that is given, say, for example, make a model of a house. Then all the parents run to expensive shops, buy fancy material, and then they make the house. But here, there is no expensive shop to go to. The nearest shop is many kilometers away. It's a rural area, you can imagine. So even if I ask them to make a model of the house, they will go around the ashram, pick some twigs and sticks and then some rope and here and that, and they'll make a fantastic model. So whatever is available without you spending any money is what they would do here, right? Singing, of course, bhajans, all the children know bhajans. Dancing, when I say dancing, it is not a specific form of dance. It is a free form of dance where the child is taught how to express oneself through the various postures of the body. Martial arts, we have workshops on various martial arts. Sewing, it's a very regular thing, at least a button, at least the corners of the dress they must learn to sew. Rangoli, every day morning, once they wake up, they have to put a rangoli in front of their Gurukulam. Dhyanalayam and all these places. So there it becomes a very natural. Nothing is an unnatural process here. Nothing is a credit course here. Everything is just as the way you would do. You would wake up in the morning, just put some water outside and put a rangoli. It's a natural way that people do in the villages. So it's a very simple way of living. Okay. These are some photos here. So here you can see they love cows, being with the cows. Every child has one cow to take care of, at least one cow to take care of. And children grow their own vegetables, especially when it comes to pumpkins and other vegetables. They find it very easy to grow. We are not at food sufficient. At least now they know how to grow the food, how to maintain it and all that. Right? Yoga Nritya is very much part of the curriculum. Not curriculum, it's very much part of their pradarshana. So they can, many of the children that you see here probably did not know how to bend their bodies fully, but within a few months they were able to do it. So this is a simple workshop that the Gurukula children took for other children during a camp on the Shadrasa. Here on the plate, you will see different tastes and what are the impacts of these various tastes the children were explaining. And here, the Gurukula child is actually teaching people who had come for our teacher training program here to the ashram on how to count with fingers. So when they have to do Dirgha Japa, then we need all tools to be able to count. And this is these are bricks that the children make with cow dung. We built a small kutir with that. And when you come to the Gurukulam, you'll see infinite number of bows and arrows here of all shapes and sizes, of all distances it can go to. Sewing is very much integral to this. And you would see here their visit to IIT Hyderabad. Here Professor Mohan Raghavan is talking to the children on the IKS center over there. And here you would see the Gurukula child understanding the impact of the yogic practices that they do on the monitor, whatever electrodes that they are wearing. And here you can see the Gurukula Vidyarthi being motion captured and how yogic practices can be converted into animations and through motion capture is what they are seeing here. This is our simple setup in the Hyderabad Gurukulam. We had a music session. It's a very, here you have the first 5 minutes of Kaya Sthairyam, where the child is taught to still the body and then go through the class. Then here, every day they have an hour of yoga. We cannot say it's a yoga disciplined class. It's a yoga krida. It's a very playful, it's the noisiest period in the day. But then you will see so much flexibility is built around this. And I will show you a video. Just give me a minute. Right? You can reflect on this and think of any questions. In the meantime, I'll just show a 2-minute video.
नमामि शरीराननिर्वाणरूपं विभुव्यापकं ब्रह्मवेदस्वरूपम् निर्गुणं निर्विकल्पं निरीहं चिदाकाशमाकाशवासं भजेऽहम् ीशं गिरीशम् त्रिसङ्काशगौरं कबीरं मनोभूतकोटि प्रभाषी शरीरम् प्रणक्षं प्रसीद प्रभु सर्वभूतादिवासम् जपं पूजा
I will also show another video. Just hold on. In the meantime, if you have any questions or anything to share, please do share. I will, in the meantime, show you another video as well. It's uploading. There is a question
Namaskar,
here.
madam. Namaskar, madam.
Yes, yes, sir.
With respect to the three kinds of Gurukula process of teaching, so what is the proportion and syllabus is given for that language skills like communication skills and other reading and writing, madam?
We follow a 3-language model where we teach Sanskritam, Telugu or Matrabhasha and English, and all these have extensive reading and writing components. And the presentation skill is part of every course. So even if it's a small thing, they are encouraged to come and present what they learned in that particular topic. And there are different ways to present. So it could be artistic way of presentation or just a oral way of presentation. For example, in Ayurveda class, whatever source verses are there, they will learn how to diagrammatically represent it. Say, for example, whether it is a Panchabhuta, what is the Panchabhuta in the body? So they will be made to draw a small diagram and then talk about it. So there is a lot of reinforcement on different ways of presenting the same. We can start.
Excellent, madam. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'll just share a video. It is It is a web video, so it will be small, but I hope you can see the video. Is the video visible? The screenshot at least, thumbnail?
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
Hanuman, great son of Vayu, I see you soaring with such speed and power. You are on a noble mission, and I wish to serve you.
Who speaks to me? What do you seek?
O mighty Vanara, I am Mainaka, the golden mountain, placed here by Lord Indra to guard the ocean's depths. The ocean lord, out of gratitude to the Ikshvaku dynasty, has sent me to help you. Rest on my peaks and Joyce.
Journey. How could we refuse? But Hanuman knew is that while distractions may appear tempting and even beneficial, we must remain steadfast in our goals. Whether it is payasa, paneer dosa, or a comfortable bed calling out to us during exam preparations, we must keep our focus on the task at hand. Charanchara buddhi vinashaya, Vayuputraya om namaha, Drishti vikshepanashaya, Hanumat Swamine namaha.
So this is actually a puppet show which is based on the life of Hanuman and how a Vidyarthi can learn from the qualities of Hanuman in terms of tackling life problems with intelligence, with bala, and with the support of others. So what happens through this process? One is they learn how to sing, they learn how to communicate, they learn how to make puppets. The students themselves stitched all the puppets. And through this, they also learn a very, very indigenous art, which is basically the art of puppetry. So like this, then what happens is that it is not just this, the other things I'm not able to show videos, we didn't take really videos. They can solve, there is something called Parikarmashtakam in Indian math, which is 8 operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, cube, cube root, and square, square root. So children actually can calculate the cube and cube root, square and square root of numbers in a very rapid manner, and can also calculate the areas of polygons, geometrically represent equations in a very rapid manner. All those skills we haven't captured as videos. So it is not just kala, but it's a very mathematically precise knowledge is offered, and very, very sound knowledge of Ayurveda is also offered as part of the curriculum. So with this, I come to the conclusion of today's presentation. We'll have a prayer and then we'll conclude. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. If you have any questions or comments, please.
Ma'am, I think in the chat box we have few questions, ma'am.
That one question I answered with respect to communication.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Reading and communication skills I answered.
And then 5 qualities of student. They just mentioned it.
Yeah, just a comment.
Madam, is it co-education in Palani Gurukula, madam?
It's a co-education.
Madam, what do you mean by Kala, madam, in the curriculum in our Palani
Gurukula? Various art forms.
Last one, life skills. Last.
Life skills is in terms of these self-reliant skills like krishi, growing your own food, taking care of your own clothes, those kind of things.
What about Kala?
Kala is the bhajans, music and dance and sewing and various things.
Madam, hello. Good afternoon, madam.
Yes, sir.
How many schools, madam, in Hyderabad?
We have one school for the age group, primary age group, sir, and one for this kindergarten level.
Which area, madam?
So the Padmarao Nagar and Jubilee Hills, sir.
Padmarao Nagar, Jubilee.
One is in Padmarao Nagar, Secunderabad. One is in Jubilee Hills.
Okay, madam. On the city head office, which place, madam?
Palani, sir. This is in Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu.
Palani in Tamil.
Admission process throughout admission process Tamil Nadu, madam.
Yeah, there is a website for this. I will just share. You can take a look at all the curriculum and everything here in our website, sir. I put it in the chat box. anadi.org/Gurukulam.
Madam, website.
Yeah. Chat box.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, in the website, there is a book called Sadvidya,
Yes, ma'am.
an educator manual. So it says it is out of stock. So when can we expect it to be back available?
I am not sure, ma'am. I'll just we are still planning. Most of our resources now are held up because of the Kumbh Mela, so you can expect something only in March. Things to move only in March.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Is there any sessions are organizing for the sake of these college-going students during leisure time? That means holidays, Sankranti or summer, like summer camps. Is there any organization in the Dharma Gurukulam?
1 or 2 days, college students are most welcome to visit, sir.
Yeah, even I want to ask this question whether our teacher trainees can.
Most
And
welcome.
Madam, you have only this formal school, or you have some summer camps like that for the here in Hyderabad, ma'am?
Sorry, ma'am. I didn't understand.
Summer camp, ma'am.
Yeah, we have it here in our Gurukulam. We have it both in winter and summer. We have it in Hyderabad also. We will be posting the dates in our website, ma'am.
So there I'm talking about Palani, ma'am. It's
Here
open
also
for
we have. Yeah, it's open for everybody. Parents, even just people who are educators come. Even if they don't bring their children, even adults just come for the program.
a prior appointment should be.
The registration process, that's all.
Okay, ma'am.
Not
Thank
for
you.
the sake of visiting, please organize such a summer camp for the children who are unable to take admission in the residential school. Like my child.
Yeah, that's what we do. What we do is that we just before our Gurukulam closes in April, we have a summer camp for other children also. But once the Gurukulam closes, we don't have any program because that is our sadhana time. So when the children are not there is when we get our personal time. So everybody is into some yoga sadhana or mauna or japa or whatever it is. So that's our sadhana time. And we also organize our Himalayan yatras during that time in May.
Wow. Very nice.
Every year we take hundreds of people to the Himalayas. So that is the Himalayan yatra time.
What kind of education there you just
So it
can
is
you
a
give?
yatra. It's a spiritual yatra, not just Gurukula students, general public.
Any more questions, please?
Admissions time, madam. Please, admissions time. Please tell me admissions time.
Now, Palani admission is going on, sir. You can take a look at it, our this thing, the website that I have given.
To March or up to April admission.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Up to March or up to April, madam. Admission period time.
Up to April.
Last, up to April.
We have already had 2 rounds of interviews and everything, in-person visits. 2 more are coming. March there is a open house in March.
Okay. Thank you.
February 1st there is an open house at the Hyderabad Gurukulam for the younger children.
Mataji, Namaskaram. If we want to spend couple of days in Palani Gurukulam, what is the procedure, madam? We just want to come, experience, and stay there for a couple of days.
I have provided the mail ID. You can write.
Yeah, sure,
Since
madam.
this is also like publicly being broadcasted, I'm a little cautious. I've just put it in the chat box. Everybody is welcome to visit. There is a process. You just have to first.
Yeah. Just like Ramanashramam, we have to fill all the details and then get the approval and stuff like that. We would definitely do, madam.
Not
Sure.
so many formalities, but we just need to know. We need to be available and to facilitate. So we just request.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Participants, any more questions? We will.
Yeah, it is not, madam. This is a reflection by the Hello.
Good afternoon. I'm audible.
Continue, sir. Durgesham, sir.
Yeah, madam. It is not question. It is my own reflection. That is, madam. Through all these days, you have just motivated and all the participants, and through this, that curiosity has been generated and also started. It has been stimulated and also it will be sustained very soon. Thank you so much, madam. You really through this Indian knowledge system. It is very wonderful session, and I think on behalf of this organization and university, so we thought that here the motto has been fulfilled, madam. I believe that. Thank you so much.
Especially from I saw that from government IASC, all the students and professors together watching the program, and today they interacted in the session. Students also interacted. That's nice.
Very true.
More questions, please. Yeah. Now I request
Ma'am,
Raj.
irrespective of religion, we can visit your Gurukul, right?
Yeah. Very much, ma'am. Very much.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Now I request Durgesham sir to give vote of thanks. Durgesham sir, you are available.
Yeah, yes, madam. Yes, madam. Thank you. Thank you.
Kindly give vote of thanks, sir.
Kindly unmute your video, please.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to propose the formal vote of thanks to this Anadi Foundation and their the respected Matajis and who always stimulated participants to understand the real lessons of this education, especially the Indian knowledge system through these art forms that are 64 kalas and through their indigenous pedagogies. And really, it's a wonderful session because that year College of Education students are revealing personally and also through that year our groups. It shows that year wonderful session. This so we on behalf of this organizers and University College of Education and all the faculty members of this University College of Education and also participants and all on behalf of this colleges of education jurisdiction under Usman University and Palmer University and other Telangana University like Shatavana and this Mahatma Gandhi and Palmer University like that. We express our profusely heartfelt thanks to that Madam Ji and also all the acharyas and all the stakeholders of this workshop. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Ma'am, one announcement regarding the tomorrow's program. Ma'am, after that, we can go with the prayer and end the talk. Dear participants, tomorrow, that is 29th of January, we are having a panel discussion on Panchakosha development. And we have resource persons from Anadi Foundation. That is, these are the participants, Kamlesh Chandra Garu, Ravinath Murthy, and I'll be just be along with the panel members. So I think it will be a very useful session because Kamlesh Chandra sir is actually have his own school where he's following the indigenous pedagogical practices in the school. So it is really enlightening thing, useful I kindly request all the participants to join the panel discussion from 2 to
Madam, kindly unmute Vasita madam. Kindly unmute.
Sorry, participants, were you able to hear to me regarding the tomorrow's program? Tomorrow we have a panel discussion with our resource persons, that is Anantalakshmi Madam, Kamlesh Garu, and our Principal Ravinath K. Murthy. I'll be joining them in the panel discussion. And followed by that, we'll have validity session. And tomorrow we are going to have the end of this interesting and informative workshop that is on IKS. So, and after that, we will be giving all the instructions to me what are we are going to send it to you and your feedback and everything in this faculty function. So kindly attend tomorrow's program. And now we'll end the program with a small prayer.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.